Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another live episode of the Ethicast, coming to you from the 16th Annual Global Ethics Summit here in Atlanta, Georgia, and of course, streaming virtually to all of our friends attending virtually out there in the world. I'm your host, Bill Coffin, and we have a special guest for you today. I'm here with Ronnie Feldman of Learnings and Entertainments, a fantastic organization, how best to put it, comedians who do corporate education. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
So, Ronnie, why don't you talk to us about what it is that you're bringing to the crowd here at GES this year? And let's get a little bit more into why comedy is your chosen vector for helping drive engagement in compliance and ethics.
Well, I'll grant you that it's a little counterintuitive in some ways, but I came out of a place called the Second City, which is an improv comedy theater in Chicago, where we specialize in corporate satire, political satire, social satire. And we started at the time just realizing that we can use these tools of comedy, entertainment, humor, music, all these things that we use to consume information in our everyday lives, and apply it to these very important topics so people engage and remember. So I've been doing this about 15 years now at this point. But what I've come to learn is it's really not about, I could get real deep about comedy and why that works and all that stuff. But really, when I think about the corporate risk space, ethics, compliance, and all the things that these people do, that all of you people do, you're trying to help them. And they don't always like you very much because these words are, sometimes toxic. There's been a long history of bloated, boring training and finger waggy, and they feel like you don't care. They feel like you're pushing liability onto them. They feel like you're the office of no, earned or not. So we created this company to help rebrand what compliance means to people by using things that are short, fun, and interesting, playful, and positive. You kind of get a halo effect that says, hey, I'm interesting, playful, and positive, and it makes it less scary for them, so they're more likely to ask for your help and support.
And you'd mentioned just a moment ago that you could get deep into comedy, but if you'll permit me, one of the things, a kind of a recurring theme in what we do and in the content that I create is I have talked to so many chief ethics compliance officers who really stress the power of storytelling in what they do in terms of getting support internally, exporting their values to external stakeholders, to just getting the rank and file to win hearts and minds within an organization, and that storytelling is such a key piece of it. But there's no storytelling like comedic storytelling, and the power of comedy has this really interesting way of sort of cutting through people's cynicism, people's just general disinterest, and it just grabs attention. So can you talk a bit about just, and I'm just saying this as an observer, you're a purveyor of it. Why does comedy work so well as a medium to reach people and to get their attention and to teach something that'll sink in?
Yeah. I mean, it's a really interesting question because I unfortunately found a way that I can make this really unfunny answer. Because
that's irony though, man. Go for it.
Well, because we all intuitively get that these are better ways to engage people. This is why there was Schoolhouse Rock when I was growing up. And why, you watch the podcasts or the murder shows and the, drama, and these are effective tools to communicate information. Talk shows, game shows, storytelling of all kinds. But the behavioral science behind it, it's interesting, is because it taps into different part of the brain, right? Makes emotional connections instead of just cognitive connections. So the lawyers tend to say, like, this is the law. These are the things you need to know. Do you really care if employees know the law? No, you want them to behave differently.
Sure.
So sometimes marrying the thing you want them to do, written, succinct, whatever, with something that hits an emotional connection, like a song. Think about a song. Like I read a study the other day that people have an earworm going through their head. It's like 90% of the people have an earworm going through their head. Like I'm gonna get the stats wrong. But we know that.
For sure.
You can think of
saying it, put my favorite earworm in my head right now. It's in my head right now.
Think of your favorite commercial. You can conjure up. It takes you to a time and a place.
Cars for kids.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Well, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. It could be used for good or for evil.
Exactly.
But so this is the point. There's something called the forgetting curve. So 80% of learning is lost within the first month. So right. So there's something called pattern disruption. So that's another psychological thing, which is basically says that like when you say something like this, you need something to break the pattern, and then it jolts you into a different state of mind.
Sure.
So sometimes humor is really good for that, like the unexpected.
Yeah.
The whole concept of nudge learning, you need things. This is an interesting aspect of humor, which I want to touch on. Like, so nudge learning doesn't have something specifically to do with comedy, but it's the idea that there's benefit from regular touch points.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Both culturally, like it helps seed an idea, like ethics compliance is here to help versus here to, so you can, or as well as to remind and reinforce.
Sure.
You have the law. But compliance doesn't often get the opportunity to nudge because it's boring. So you know what I mean? Like if you're going to, your corporate comms aren't going to let you to push out a regular communication if it bores or annoys people.
Yeah.
So one of the really interesting things I found about comedy, humor, music, entertainment is it allows you to get higher rotation and higher touch points. You get you access to more channels than you would otherwise have.
Yeah.
To me, that's maybe even the more important thing, is that no one's listening. You do something interesting, they will listen, and you'll get other people to play it for you to get more people to listen.
Yeah. Is there a particular comedic technique that you are especially fond of, or that you have found to be especially effective, say in this space with the people you're trying to reach today?
There's a couple, and to me, it's all specific to technique to what you're trying to accomplish. So you said storytelling. So storytelling is great, particularly in compliance, because when you think about compliance, we tell stories like in case studies.
Yeah.
They're not interesting, but we're talking about fraud, corruption, harassment, discrimination.
Inherently interesting.
I'll give you a little rabbit hole we might go down here. I was at one of these conferences. This is like 6 years ago, maybe. And I was thinking about, I need a storytelling series that really helps unpack like the speak up process. Because one is letting people know about it. The other is like teaching people what will happen after they speak up.
Right.
And that's a good stories for that. But all the stuff I've seen out in the marketplace was just these really boring case studies. But I was at the bar and I'm like, well, don't tell me what happened. They're like, oh my God, we had this guy and he did this. And do you believe that they did? And I'm like, well, yeah, tell it like that.
Yeah.
So we created a series called Tales from the Hotline, where I took real stories from compliance officers and had them tell me over the phone. I scrubbed it.
Sure.
And repackaged it, and so that it's, anonymous and everything.
Yeah.
And told it like you were talking to a buddy at a bar.
That's fantastic.
So
I love it.
I feel like, you can break down a good story, has a beginning, middle, and end, and there's some tension. It's usually heroes and villains and things like you can break down what a good story is. But I think that's a great technique for learning and teachable moments.
Yeah.
And to do things like unpacking the speak up process. Another technique I like is just the simple concept of commercials. Completely different thing. Short, some entertainment value.
Sure.
And I use music a lot for all the reasons we just talked about.
Yeah.
A 60-second song that's going to get stuck in your head. Now, I like that for play that between speakers at a sales meeting.
Sure. Okay.
Where you don't have they're not going to invite compliance. You're hard to get compliance invited to the table.
But you can
give them this fun thing that they'll play, or you can give it to a leader and say, play the 60-second thing prior to your Monday morning huddle.
Sure. Yeah.
On Zoom. They won't do it if you give them something short and fun that makes them look good. It gives you access to that channel. Another common one is the monthly, what I call post and push. Put the fun thing next to the important thing on the internet.
Yep.
Push it out via Slack, via email, via Yammer, via Teams. Drive traffic to the fun thing, which drives traffic to the important thing. So anyway,
there you go. Yeah.
Short commercials are good for that. Storytelling is good for teaching.
Fantastic. Well, look, Ronnie, thank you so much for coming on to the Ethicast and talking with us about this. Super fascinating. I guess my last question for you is, where can people go to learn more?
Well, thank you. The company's called Learnings and Entertainments, learningsentertainments.com. There's S's on the end of that URL. I know. So that's a great place to go. And I encourage you all out there, if there's really good business reasons to be fun and interesting in what you do, it's also more fun and interesting to you. So don't be afraid to try new things, and it'll make you it'll help everyone else know that you're the helpful, welcoming, approachable person that you are, and the helpful, supportive resource that you are, and it's a lot more fun.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And everyone out there, thank you very much for watching. This is, again, Ethicast coming to you live from the 16th Annual Global Ethics Summit. We'll see you again soon.